right, welcome everybody. Today we are talking about the 4 buying styles that every leader must master in order to really rock the holidays. I'm your co-host, Dr. Monica Ogando, and I'm excited to be here with you because we get into what I love to talk about the most, which is human psychology. Now, as you know, because we just got through the Black Friday situation and we're getting ready to go into the holiday, the Christmas situation in terms of consumerism, in terms of economics, in terms of buying things. So it's important for you as a leader, as a business owner to know how are people making buying decisions and how do I sell to match those buying personas, buying decision styles, so that I can maximize the results in my business, right? So I'm going to match them. That's what we're going to do. Now, if you can imagine your brain kind of like as a pizza, just imagine that you have upper quadrants and lower quadrants, right? So the lower quadrants, you can just break it up into 4, right? So the lower quadrants are back here, the upper quadrants are back here, are in front, right? The lower quadrants require more basic connections, right? And the upper quadrants require more higher level thinking. You tracking? Okay. So somebody who obviously you have your whole brain, clearly, right? Just like if you're an able-bodied person, you have both the right and the left arm. You might be right hand dominant, but you still have your left hand. In the same way, there are some people who may be upper quadrant dominant, but they still have a lower quadrant. Vice versa, there are some people who are lower quadrant dominant, but they still are capable of higher level process thinking. Okay, don't call these people dumb. That's not how this works. so so in the lower quadrants, and by the way, this is you can actually look this up with the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument. he Mr. Herman was in charge of large manufacturing plants, and he noticed how people make decisions at the heat of the moment, or under stress, or when they were at their highest capacity, et cetera. And he noticed that some folks go one way and some folks go another. I'm going to tell you what those are. So, if you were to think of your brain as a quadrant, I'm going to go upper left, upper right, lower right. Okay. Upper left, he color coded it as blue. And the upper left folks are the folks that are answering the question, what? Like they just want the data. Who, what, when, where, why, how much does it cost? When can I get it? What's the, return policy, et cetera, et cetera. They just want the facts. They don't want all the hoopla, all the rigmarole, just the facts, ma'am. Right? Those are the upper left quadrant people. We'll call them blue. The upper right hand people are more visionary. They're more, it's the higher level process thinking, yes, but it's like the future thinking. It's like the vision. So for those folks, you don't sell them the plane, you sell them the Hawaii vacation, the vision of what's possible and what's going to be out there, et cetera, et cetera. They fall in love with the possibility and then they reverse engineer into the data. Okay. We'll call those folks high yellow, right? So it's visionary, it's possibility, et cetera. It's future thinking. Now let's go to the lower quadrant. The lower quadrants, we're going to go with the lower left and the lower right. Now, the lower left folks, we're going to color code them as green. The lower left folks are worried or concerned or focused on the process, the how. Okay. So whereas the upper left were the what, the lower left are the how. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get there? What's the process going to be like? What's the step by step, right? Those are the folks that write the SOPs in companies, right? Because they're very process oriented. Huh? And then you have the lower right folks. We're going to call those folks red, color code them as red, because they're relational. They answer the question, who? Who's going to be there? Who has bought this before? Who has gotten results? Right? They are the ones that look at testimonials. not processes, not ingredients, not price tags. They look at testimonials, they look at results, they look at before and afters, right? And so when you are a business owner and you are interested in selling to people, you want to know how they're making decisions. You want to answer the question they already come to the buying decision with, right? So the yellow or the high vision folks answer the question, or they want to know the answer to the question, why? What's the purpose? What's the vision? What's the possibility? What's the future going to look like, right? So that's the why people. The upper left are the what people, the data. The lower left are the how people, the process, the SOPs, the step by step. And the lower right people are the red or the relational or the who people. Who's going to be there? Who has done this before? Who has gotten results? Can I talk to them? What do they say? What are the testimonials, etc. Now, there are some times when you do not know what the buying style of your audience may be. So you got to cover all four bases, right? But when you do market research, when you talk to your customers, when you talk to potential customers, you can hear in their conversation what some of their concerns are, and you then would know whether they are, lower quadrant dominant or higher quadrant dominant. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. So what are some of the ways that you can find out without knowing this person, what their dominant quadrant might be, what their dominant buying style may be? So let's say, for example, that you sell services. You're an accountant, a dentist, a lawyer, a consultant, a coach, a dietitian, a nutritionist, et cetera, et cetera. You sell services. And you are in conversations with someone about the possibility of engaging in your services. Or even better, if you're like at a networking event, like a BNI or something like that, and somebody asks you what you do, and you say what you do. And they say, wow, how does that work? Likely, this is a process person, right? Or if you tell them what you do and they say, oh, really? How much does that earn? They're asking for data. Now, sometimes in a networking event, some people might not be so forward as to ask, well, how much does that earn? Right? They might ask you other data conversation, other data questions. But if they ask a data-driven question, they're more likely a data-driven buying style, right? If they ask, oh, who inspired you to become that? That would be a relational person, right? Because they're asking a who question. If they ask you, really, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's a vision person. That's a why person, right? So you can hear where people are in their buying decision style or their buying personality by the kind of questions that they ask or the kind of information that they're looking for when they're looking to buy. Somebody that goes straight to the testimonials or the before and afters is typically a relational person. Somebody who goes to the ingredients or the price or, how long does it take to get here? What's the shipping, etc. Those are probably data people. If they're looking for how is it made, is it ethically sourced? What's the process like? Those are typically process people and so forth, right? Now, what does that have to do with you and your selling style? This is where it gets really good because this is how you become bilingual in the psychology of sales. So if you are, for example, a person who in your buying style, you too are relational, right? Then you probably will ignore the other three. Whatever one that you're in, you probably will ignore the other three. It's not a relational thing. It's a dominance thing, right? So for example, and this goes across the board. When you are a right-handed person, if you were to write with your left hand, you'd probably do chicken scratches because you're not that dominant in that with that hand, right? So in the same way, when you are relational dominant or vision dominant or data dominant or process dominant, whichever one you're dominant in, it probably sounds like chicken scratches when you speak the other languages, right? So I'm going to give you some words, some phrases for you to really tune into what that sounds like. And then for you to identify what kind of seller you are, okay? So I'm going to give you, this is extra credit because we were just going to talk about the buying profiles, but I'm going to give you the seller profiles too. So the seller profiles. You know how there are some people who, when they are trying to be helpful, they like to connect you with other folks. You know who would be good for that tax problem that you have? I know a great accountant, and then they send you the information, they introduce you, da, da, da. Those are relational folks, wouldn't you say? They're connectors. That's what we call connectors, right? Examples of a connector in modern media would be like an Oprah, right? If it weren't for Oprah connecting us, we wouldn't know who Dr. Phil was, or Dr. Oz, or Susie Orman, right? We wouldn't know some of the authors that she has introduced to us via her Oprah's book club, right? And so the connectors are people who connect, obviously, who connect people. If you are a connector in terms of selling, then you typically would do well some with like an affiliate marketing process, or with introducing other folks into your realm so that you can introduce them to your audience and so forth, right? So somebody who like hosts summits or leadership podcasts on Mondays would be a good connector, because they're introducing you to new information, new people that can deliver and add value, right? So that's one seller profile, is the connector. The second seller profile is somebody who is a technician. Somebody who's like, you come to that person because of what they know and how they do what they know. They do it for you, right? So web designers, graphic designers, the accountant themselves, right? The lawyer themselves. You don't want to know what a lawyer knows. You want the lawyer to use what they know, right? And that's what you hire them for. So you hire the technician based on their knowledge, their expertise, what their knowledge and expertise can offer you, right? That's the technician. Some of you are technicians. Yeah. So you deliver on your technical know-how, on your particular expertise. Yeah. The third selling style is the star. This is the kind of person that's like, they show you their life, they show you their look, their beauty influencers, etc. It's like, you want this kind of skin, you want this kind of hair, you want this kind of body, do what I do. Right? You want this kind of life. Like Grant Cardone is a perfect example of a star selling profile, because he's like, look, you can have this life too. If you work these many hours, if you make these real estate decisions, if you make these investment decisions, you too can have a life like mine. Kim Kardashian is another example of a star selling profile, because she's selling her brand, she's selling her life, she's selling her personality. Is it likely that you're gonna get a Kim Kardashian style life? Probably not. But you'll buy the Skims workout wear, you'll buy the skincare, you'll buy the hair products, you'll buy, et cetera, right? So that's the way that she sells, is by selling the possibility of her star lifestyle, right? And then the fourth selling style is what I like to call a Sherpa. She's like a guide. You don't really want my life, but you want what I know and how I know it. You don't want me to do it for you because you want to do it yourself, but I'm going to guide you through your own process, through your own journey. A lot of psychotherapists, coaches, mentors, teachers are like that, right? I remember a mentor of mine once told the group, the best kinds of teachers don't tell you what to see, they tell you where to look. Right? The best kind of teachers don't tell you what to see, they tell you where to look. And that's what a Sherpa would be like, a Sherpa selling style. They give you information so that you can make your own decisions, so that you can craft your own journey, so that you can get on the path. Right? So now, I want you to imagine that you are creating this matrix, this kind of like this quadrant specific document, right? And so if you were to pull out a piece of paper and you were to put out 4 columns at the top and 4 categories on the left, right? So you would have the buying styles at the top. And I'm happy to give this, I'm going to help you draw this, but if you want the matrix itself, I'm happy to give it to you. Just put your email on the chat and I'll send it over to you. So the buyer profiles, right? So you have the upper left dominant, which is data, which is what? Upper right dominant, which is vision, which is why. Lower left, which is process or how. And lower right, which is relational or who. So those are the categories that you have on the top of the table. And then on the left of the table, then you have your selling styles. So you would have the star, the Sherpa, the technician, and the connector. Sherpa, star, technician, connector, right? So now you want to ask yourself, okay, so if I am a star at the top of the line, then how would the star talk to a data person, a vision person, a process person, a relational person, right? So for a data person, you would talk about what you've been able to accomplish, the money that you've been able to make, the possibilities and the people that you've been able to help. I've saved this much in taxes, or I've made this much in revenue, and so forth. Yeah, you're welcome, Molly. For the vision person, you would talk about the possibilities. Look at all the places I've been able to go. Look at all the people that I've been able to help, not with data, but with the visualizing the possibility, right? And so when you can go line by line with each one of those buying styles and selling styles, then you can see what the perfect combination is for your what am I going to say? For your copy when you're writing sales pages, for your communications with the in your discovery calls, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Let's talk about questions. What questions do you have? How do you, let me start with this. How do you identify yourself? If you were to identify your particular selling style, what would you say it would be? You can
So
put it in the chat.
I would say that I would say that there's a lot to process given the quadrants of information that you're
Mhm.
giving us, right? Where I got lost a little bit, uh, I got distracted and I got lost for a moment. There are four types of personalities, right?
Mhm.
There is the people who make decisions based on data. They need information. There is the people who are looking at the future, right, as a possibility, and they connect with that. Then
Mhm.
the people who need to know how things are going to happen, right? The process people. And then there's the people who it really matters who's there and the opportunity to connecting with others.
Yes.
And if I'm leading a team, it's important that what I'm hearing is it's important that I not only in selling but also in leading. It's important that I am covering those four aspects in my presentations so that I can get the attention of everyone involved
Correct.
at their own level of comfortable awareness. But then you said there's also the way people sell.
Mhm.
Uh, it's like this other quadrant in the way people sell based on this, similar to these categories. And I got lost a little bit on the importance of distinguishing not only the buying, but also the selling comfortable zone,
Yeah.
their selling zone. Could
Yeah.
you list that for me again?
Yeah. So when you're explaining something, this is let me add a different analogy to it. When you are consuming information, data, etc., when you're receiving in that way, let's call that the buying style. So based on how you receive information, how you that's
Let's
how
let's
you
let's use me as an example. I definitely see that most of my life I'm data process kind of guy.
okay. Right. So
So
you might be, as when you receive information, you want somebody to give you the what and the how.
yeah,
Yeah, you want them to explain to you how's this going to work, what's going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. So that you can make a good decision as to how you want to move forward.
yeah, my brain likes that too.
Yes,
I get my dopamine on the out.
I love it. Now, let me ask you this. Do you also language your information that way? Or do you mostly, when you're giving information, not receiving it, but when you're giving information, do you focus more on the people or the vision or possibility that you're drawing for people?
I used to, certainly that was my only language, but I see people rolling their eyes and like felt really bored with me, like, oh my God, you're gonna go with your numbers and the processes and so I never quite saw it as a quadrant. I always thought that people don't like that. So most of the time I'm communicating is vision and relationship.
Yes, right.
Most of the time when I communicate. Yeah.
Yes. So when you communicate vision and relationship, you want to see where if you're doing it like let me introduce you, let me facilitate this process for you, right? Because that's typically a connector, yeah. Or a Sherpa, like a guide, right? So let me facilitate this process for you, and then you have to walk it out. You have to do this for yourself, right? That would be like a Sherpa kind of conversation. And so when you can identify that this is the way you speak, that this is the way you communicate, that this is the way that you give information. Now you also want to be thoughtful about, well, how do people receive that information? Because somebody like you who processes better and makes decisions based on the what and the how, then when I'm a Sherpa, I'm going to say, for example, if I'm inviting you to a coaching process, I'm going to say, here's how that's going to work. We're going to get on the phone. We're going to talk for X amount of time, X amount of minutes, for X amount of times per week or for the 12 weeks that are available, et cetera, et cetera. And when we get on the call, we're not going to have fluff surface conversation. We're going to talk about your shadow. We're going to talk about the limiting beliefs that you may have. We're going to talk about how those things might get in the way and what you might be able to do in order to push through them so that they don't hold you back any longer, right? So you're actually giving them the how without drowning them in details, right?
Yeah.
So somebody who is about the house, like, oh, that makes sense to me. When do we get started? How much? Because they
Yeah.
want the data, right? They want the what, right? And so now you're guiding them through that process with the
Because
information that they want.
if they tell me there's a lot of cool people and you're gonna meet amazing people, and I'm like, okay, God, yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that. I don't care.
exactly. Yeah,
Not
and
like I don't care, but
not
it
because
doesn't.
they're heartless, not because they're
Yeah, I'm
heartless,
not
but
heartless.
that's not the data that they use to make decisions. Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
So when you understand what your selling style is and what your audience's buying style is, then it's like you have this perfect storm of connecting how you authentically sell so that you're not coming out of personality. Because that's another thing that a lot of times people resist sales because it feels unnatural to them. But if you understand your natural selling style and you also understand your audience's buying style, then you can meet at that perfect angle of how you communicate naturally and how they receive information naturally so they can make a buying decision. And then it feels natural to everybody.
That's really great. Awesome. Well, I don't want to hug you the entire time, so I don't know if you guys have
Mm.
any comments, questions, yeah, buts, anything that you like to take advantage, given that we only have Dr. Orgando once a month. So yeah, anybody, put your comments, questions, unmute yourself. Love to hear from you.
I do have something, Dr. O.
Hello.
First of all, I'm disappointed that when somebody like Grant Cardone is selling and they're the star, right?
Hmm.
They're actually not saying, be like me.
Hmm.
All the time, I thought he was saying, yeah, you can be like me. You can be like me. So they're saying that though, but they're not selling you on becoming like them. They're selling you on whatever you want, but they're
Hmm.
using a star style.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I've always related to that type of selling uh, mode as sort of shallow and authentic, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, shoot, just tell me the stuff. So now I'm discovering my own buying style.
Yes.
Like every time somebody sells like that to me, it's like chalk. It's like chalk on
Stuff on the cardboard.
on a board, right? And so can people have two buying styles, sort of? Because for me, I see that I need to see the vision. I
Mm-hmm.
need to understand how it's going to impact me emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want data to
Yeah.
validate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are either upper dominant or lower quadrant dominant in that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, and not to get too much in the weeds, but a lot of times what happens is that when you are like your default might be upper quadrant, but then when you get stressed and when things are like going bad, then you maybe going lower dominant, right? So when you understand somebody's default style and stress style, then you can speak to them whether things are going well or things are not going well, right? So that's actually an advanced level strategy for you. Yes.
Thank you. And I also like the part about, if I know my selling style, then I can sell authentically, as opposed to watching a YouTube video somewhere and think that I have to be like Grant Cardone to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
effective. Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't
because I
have
think
to be like Grant Cardone to be effective. I don't have to be like anyone else to be effective. I can
that's exactly.
embrace my own selling style and then
Mm-hmm.
target how to
So
speak. Yeah.
it seems that we're both incomplete with Grant Cardone. We need to do more.
Well, now you understand why. Now you have language to understand why that doesn't resonate with you.
I don't have to have a beef with them anymore.
That's right. Let that man be. That's right. Let that man be.
uh, thank you. Thank you.
See, we're over here saving people's lives already. Yes. That's good. So I'm happy to make that matrix chart available to anybody who wants to send me their email, so I can send you that, because it has language around like, well, how would a star talk to a relational person? How would a Sherpa talk to, a process person, and so forth, so that you can start developing your own language and how you sell. Happy to send it over.
Yes, can you go ahead and send it to me? And I'm gonna send it to all the ones that are here too. I'll send
Oh,
it to everyone.
fantastic. Fantastic. All right.
Awesome. We'll send it to you, Terry. Yes.
Good deal.
Awesome. So we're all set. Would you like to wrap us up?
I'm going to say this. I want to make sure that we understand you were born selling. A lot of times people have this distinction or this resistance to selling, like, I'm not a natural at it. La, la, la. No, you were born selling. And you knew how to use what was available to you in order to enroll people in the possibility that you were committed to. As a baby, you may have been really, really committed to, I'm cold, I want to get warm, and I want to get some food. And the only tool that you had available was crying. And so you cried until somebody made you warm and gave you some food. And so what the point that I want to really inculcate as we leave today's session is, you are already a natural at selling. What you get to do now is discover what you are natural with, the tools, the language that you're natural with, and the tools and the language that people naturally hear, so that you can mesh them, so that you can blend them and be the natural that you have always been.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Orgando. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you all for being here. Coach Sophie, thank you.
Take us away.